Okay, sorry everyone, I was on mute. I am making another recording to share with you because an awful lot of you are scheduling meetings with me, and even though we are off and running, forgive me, I just got finished working out. So it's important that you understand that the first week of class was set aside just for me to answer all your questions so that it didn't interfere with your having to learn the material. So I'm going to go over correlational research, how to correlate information so that your essays for your portfolio will actually line up with what is necessary for the submission in your portfolio, and you will get all of your points. Okay. Now, it's important that you understand, and I am trying to pull up your module. Actually, let me go ahead and put you into screen share mode so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now, here we go. This is your class. We are going to make sure it's student view so it looks like yours looks. And what you will do each week is you are going to go into the module itself and begin to look at the videos. If you choose. If you choose not to look at the videos, we're going to do the week that we just had. I tell you what, we'll go ahead and we'll do the week that's upcoming, which is for March 1st through 5th. Now, if you look at the syllabus, and I'm going to pull that up, and also pull up the course schedule outline. Here is the syllabi for this class. Excuse me. And I'm also going to pull up for this class under the same tab, syllabus, the course schedule outline, so that we can easily refer to it. Okay. Now, both of these are very important documents because they are the core of the class. If you look at the syllabus, it says to you for your portfolio, every student must complete a portfolio for the class. So you can't substitute extra credit assignments for portfolio. You follow the course schedule outline, which is here as well. Okay. This is following the course schedule outline as soon as it pulls up here. And excuse me, I'm sorry. And let me make this so that it's easier for you to see. I have some difficulties when I try to open up Zoom screen. Zoom doesn't seem to like that on my Mac. So what I'm going to do is attempt to download this thing so that you can have it bigger. Okay, I thought I did that already, but maybe I didn't. Okay, that's as big as it's allowing me to do it. Okay, so again, the first week we were supposed to have all the questions answered because I was expecting lots of private Zooms and inbox messages, but people waited probably for the due date and found themselves running into some obstacles. So here we are now getting ready to go into next week, which is March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's follow this. And let's go into this module for this week. The module will pull down and we're going to go ahead, and if you have the ability to access a printer, then you can actually print out this outline. Okay. If you don't have the ability to access a printer, then you'll have to copy it yourself. This is in every single week's module, this being an outline. While you are reading your textbook or looking at the videos that I have in the module each week, you can fill in this outline or create your own. This will give you the study guide that you need week by week. Okay, we're just going to park this for a second. Okay, now once you have printed out or copied your outline, the next insert in the module for that week is going to be graphics. These are my graphics, not your graphics, but graphics that I'm providing for you so that you will just have a visual that you can utilize as you are filling out your outline. Some people find it easier to take something like this and to be able to look at it, and it gives you all the terminology that you need for this particular mechanism in the brain. Okay, so let me see, I didn't want to do that. And these are mines. So yes, you can copy them by drawing your own illustration. Okay, this is actually a cross section of this part of this neuron, this zoomed out picture. Or you can have several other options. Okay, you can look in the textbook and use pictures of brain graphics there. But the thing that I want to get across mostly here is that when you are drawing your graphic, it needs to be yours. As it says here, that you are using your graphic illustration. Some of you actually copied out the graphic illustration that is in Canvas, like this one, and use that for your insert. As far as learning and pedagogy goes, just taking someone else's work and placing it and saying it's your work, we actually call that intellectual property infringement, but you also don't retain the material as well. So yes, you can sit and draw these graphics, or you could actually go here, I'll drag this down a little bit, and access Pixabay, Pixabay, which is royalty free, and go into their search line and say you want to look up synapse. Okay, if you do this, you will be able to use any of these illustrations that line up with your essay. This is a good one that you could just take this and you could put it on your desktop and bam, you would have it. That's Pixabay. Then this would be the anatomy or the structure of that part of your portfolio. Sorry, I live in the city. The background noise. So here's anatomy. Anatomy is structure, okay? It is the bodily structure of something. So that's the actual drawing of it. Then you also, and you get 5 points for doing that. Then there's the physiology. And the physiology, it deals with the normal functioning. We want to know the functioning of what you're discussing in your essay. So this is where you would label. This would be maybe the vesicles. This would be, you could label it as the axon terminal after you've done the reading. So this is how it goes. You look at the modules that you have, okay? You've copied out your outline. If you deem this is necessary, you can also pull this out. So as you're reading, you'll have your own graphic to refer to. I'm having a time here with this. And then you go to the very first video that is in your module. In this case, it's talking about the person who actually discovered the synapse delay. Okay. Okay, let's begin.
I'll often show you pictures as a way to introduce subjects, pictures of people at least. But in this case, I need to. His name was Charles Sherrington. And I had to pick a neuroscientist to talk about. One would be him. think he owned a time machine, vaulted into the 21st century, figured out the major issues that had been solved, and went back to his time and used the methods available to make an attempt to solve them. So his methods were necessarily crude because the technology in those days was really crude. But what he was able to figure out was astounding. And when it comes to pain, he figured out two things that are really important. One is pain is a percept. That is to say, there is nothing intrinsic about a stimulus that is painful. It's not as though heat is intrinsically painful. Heat, the quality of heat is the vibration of molecules in the air or on your skin surface. So it's kinetic energy. And so if you talk about the stimulus qualities, you can talk about temperature as a stimulus quality, but you can't talk about pain as being a stimulus quality. We wind up feeling pain as a percept. Okay, fine. That means information is going to have to make it eventually to cerebral cortex for us to feel it as painful. He also recognized there were two types of pain, that there was a pain that was discriminative. You could figure out quickly discriminative, geez, I can't write in this bit, discriminative. It could figure out what had happened, where it had happened, what was the cause of it. And then there was pain that was agonizing, punishing is what he referred to. That is, it was designed to punish you for having done something stupid so that you'll never do it again. Okay, we'll get back to that. Because as it turns out, there are different parts of cerebral cortex that information about tissue damage has to get to in order for it to be discriminated. Did it happen here or there? Was it hot or was it sharp? Okay, and punishing. We'll see that. That was an important thing. Second thing, and he offered this in the early 1900s, but people didn't figure this out until 1967. So it was about 60 years where it was open to debate. And that is, there are a specific set of somatosensory receptors that he called nociceptors, the ability to detect noxious stimuli. And he's going to define noxious as anything that has or could cause tissue damage, So pliers applied to the finger intense enough could cause tissue damage. Even before it does cause tissue damage, it could. And so you move to get yourself away from those sorts of stimuli. So nociceptors, a specific type of somatosensory receptor that detects noxious stimuli, things that could cause tissue damage. That was those were the fundamental contributions of Charles Sherrington.
Okay, so this video was 3 minutes long. And if you were to fill out the outline, you'd say, well, where would I put that? Okay. In this outline, there should be something here that talks about nociceptors. There might not be. Okay. And if there isn't, then you can note it here. Okay. Somewhere on your paper, because he's talking about the somatosensory receptors, which is really something that was from nerve impulses in this week that we just had. So you just stick that there somewhere, nociceptors and precept, okay? So when we're talking about precept, I'm not saying it correctly, we're talking about something that is perceived. So that's why people have what they call pain tolerances. Some people perceive things more painful or less painful than others. So this is where you're going to start filling in and writing in this particular outline. Okay, so that's the first essay. I'm sorry. It's the first video. And then as you go through all the videos in this module, and most of them average about, I guess, 5 minutes in length. But as you go through each one, you will see how it begins to give you information about the synapse, which is, and this is structure and function, the entire week's worth of work. let's take a look at this, and we're not going to look at the whole thing. As you can see, this is another short one. Okay. And it was nice to us. It actually allowed us to make it larger and then come
The
back.
synapse is the connection between two neurons where information is transferred and interpreted. It is a major site for the toxic actions by many insecticidal chemicals. To understand how an insecticide can disrupt the nervous system, it is essential to understand how a synapse functions. Here we see a
Now, how would an insecticide even get to the point where it's inside next to the cellular level? Well, probably everything that we eat that has a PLU label on it, fruit and produce, it has been sprayed if it's conventional. And anything that starts with the numbers 3 and 4 are conventional sprayed fruits and vegetables. And they're sprayed for insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, all kinds of ways to keep that kind of bacteria off of the produce so that in its traveling to its destination, it will not go to waste. Okay, these little bugs won't be able to eat them, these little bacteria. However, when we eat it, we then take it in, and that's how he's discussing insecticides here. You could actually take this video, okay, and this could actually be what your portfolio is about, this one video. Or you can be a student who's really interested in learning the material and continue looking at all of the videos that are in here. And there's lots, like epigenetics, gene expression. This is a big one. Hi, Ashley. And this one is basically could you turn on mute, because this was not a meeting for anybody but for me to record for the class, but you can stay. Okay, no problem. So this is epigenetics. And this is a very important concept that is fairly new to biology, to psychology, biological psychology, because it is changing and shifting the paradigm of genetic determination that the moment of conception, whatever our gene architecture sets up, that is what we're destined to be. And we have found out that that is not the case, although it's probably going to take some while to change all the textbooks and the minds of people who have been somewhat reticent to accept epigenetics, which means over and above genetics, because the environment determines which genes are expressed. This is why I have one daughter who's 6'1" and another one who's 5'9". Clearly, there's some environmental things that were expressed in one person and not the other. However, we have kind of said, well, that's just the genetic architecture. We have found out that that's not necessarily the case, and epigenetics is the science that is delving into explaining that and giving empirical evidence about it. Making a long story very short, if you were to look at this, you could make this in and of itself the information that you draw, brain mechanism, or some part of the brain, in this case would probably be the synapse, and then write your essay about it. Okay, and just put the closed caption on so that you can get all of the terminology as close as possible, because sometimes it's not easy to understand what they're saying verbally. Now, after you've gone through all the modules, filled out the outline, if you choose to do all of that, excuse me, now you might be ready to do an extra credit, which I highly recommend that you do each week, because if you actually take the time and look at all these, they average out to be about 4 hours worth of your time. And some people would say, what? But that is the time that is considered to be paid on a 3-credit course. The formula is 20 minutes for each grade level. So being that, let's say you're in the first freshman year of college, that would mean you've got 12 years of education, and 12 times 20, that would be 2 hours and 40 minutes. And so we'll add another 20 minutes. So a minimum of 3 hours for a 3-credit course. Okay. And that's in study. just study. In addition to that, to give me a way to see what you've retained so that I can give you a grade that says this is how much this student retained about this particular discipline or concept, and life goes on. So you go ahead and you look at all of these, and then you have plenty of notes you've taken, plenty of information you now have. Like say this one right here. This is the very end. This might be very interesting to some of you. Okay.
Hello, everyone. What a crazy world we live in. I'll bet that everyone in this room knows what ED is, erectile dysfunction. You do because it has proven profitable to pour millions into making you aware of it. But there is another ED out there into which millions have also been poured to keep a secret, and that is endocrine disruption. Corporations discourage the use of the words and testing for endocrine disruption because they produce and sell products that contain chemicals that interfere with the endocrine system and do not want you to know that these chemicals are in the products found in your homes, offices, schools, and automobiles and have penetrated every environment, including the womb on this planet.
Now I'm going to stop here. Feel free to look at it. And these are just an example of some of the videos. This one clearly is talking about some present day circumstances that we find ourselves being bombarded with. What's important to understand, I don't know how many of you know, this is Dr. Theo Colburn. She actually wrote the book Silent Spring, which opened up and exposed how corporations dump things in our air with chemtrails and dump things in our water and do all kinds of things. And they disrupt our hormonal balance, our endocrine system balance, and might be one tremendous indicator of why we now have a 39% infertility rate in the United States, which is incredibly high and unbelievable, and why the IVF industry is just booming. I read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, where she had to use IVF to have both of her children. It's become pretty general practice, especially in middle and upper middle class populations. So there's a lot that you can delve into, but in order for you to really ascertain all of the information, you're going to have to spend time on it. You're going to have to take notes. And once you do that, like say, for example, you decide to do this ED, the name of your portfolio would still be Synapse because it would be correlating with the course outline. Is that it? No, that's the essay criteria. Synapse outline. The course outline, if Professor Cain can find it, see where it has that asterisk and a P? That means that you usually look at the bottom of the page that you see that on. And in this case, the portfolio title is going to be Synapse. Okay, it's not going to be Theo Colburn or whatever the name of that YouTube video was, but it's going to be Synapse. Then you will write about what you summarize from the video that we just looked at. And then from that summarization, you will highlight and bold your thesis statement that shows what she's discussing, their endocrine disruptors, and how those endocrine disruptors are impacting human behavior. I just gave you a flagrant example, which is infertility. And that would be your portfolio insert if you chose that to be. There's, as you can see, probably 20, if not 25 videos to look at. And again, they average about 5 to 6 minutes a piece, okay? Which would be about an hour and a half worth of time for you to spend on looking at the videos and taking notes, okay? There's just so much material in here. I keep getting people asking to meet, and not that I mind meeting, I don't. I just know that a lot of the information is in here already. You might want to talk about like hallucinogenic drugs, especially since now cannabis has been legalized. Oh, When you run into this, it oftentimes means that the video is no longer available. Oh, it's private. So we just have to hit the bar up top. Oh, it's no longer available. If you run into this, because this, I don't know whenever this happens, when they decide to take videos down or whatever, just send me an inbox message and I'll search around to see if I can find something that will replace this particular video. This is on hallucinogenic drugs. I'm sure I'll find many more to replace it. So let me go back here. Let's see if we can grab another one. Neuropeptides and how they change hormones. This is a really good one.
So the brain has multiple different kinds of chemical communicators, transmitters. One of those are neuropeptides. So a neuropeptide is a chain of amino acids that is released either into the blood, where it activates receptors in our body, or directly into the brain, where it can activate receptors in our brain. So when a neuropeptide is released, it binds to the receptor, and that activates a series of events inside the cell, inside the neuron, then that causes that neuron to become active. And if that neuron is placed within a particular circuit, it can activate that circuit. So now you can begin to see how you can have a single molecule released from one neuron, activating another neuron, and then activating a circuit. And then a circuit can change an emotion and a behavior.
Okay. This is because the one before that talks a little bit about emotions and how it's altered. So basically, you're going to have to spend some time. You can't just do extra credit without having a foundation of what to even look for when you're looking at the extra credit, or you're going to be lost. That's why a lot of you are like, well, what are we supposed to write about? Well, if you've read the textbook or you have chosen to look at the videos and taken notes, there's lots to talk about. Okay, but you have to learn the information before you can use the information. So let's go ahead and look at one of the extra credits real quick, because I'm not sure how long. I don't want to make these any longer than 30 minutes. Okay. Here are the extra credits. Okay, let's say that we look at this one that says endocrine hormonal disrupting chemicals. I try to give you about 30 points each week. Okay, I have to come out of student view so that I can look at this. Okay, now the first few weeks you'll get a lot of examples of what to correlate in your extra credit assignments, but as we go further in the class, you will not get all these examples. Okay, so here's the Great Invasion. Let's just take a look at this. This is 51 minutes long. I'm going to open this, even though it usually messes up. There we go.
Before the Second World War, the industrialized world produced 1 million tons of chemicals a year. By 2005, it was 5 million. The post-war boom saw mass production, the frenzy of progress, consumerism, and petrochemical magic create the unbreakable baby bottle and plastic cutlery.
We'll just watch about 2 minutes of it.
Crude oil, like everything else, is made up of billions of tiny molecules. And using the magic of research, oil companies compete with each other in taking the petroleum molecule apart and rearranging it into, well, you name it, fabrics, toothbrushes, tires, insecticides, cosmetics, weed killers, a whole galaxy of things to make a better life on Earth.
We know that there are about 80 to 85,000 chemicals that are in commerce today. And about 7,000 high production, high volume chemicals. Most of these have not been tested for safety. So that's sort of the bottom line. But then you could say, so what? So they're manufactured, they're great, they make all these products that this little film showed. But the first thing to realize is that they actually get into our bodies, which I don't think was realized at that time.
The perspective is unlimited. There are unlimited potentials. Yes, if you forget your waste products and all of these chemicals that leach from the products, all of the contaminants, if you forget that. And that was the way we developed the modern world. We thought that everything is innocent until proven otherwise.
Nobody would have thought that we would have over 200 different chemicals in our blood. So because they're there doesn't mean that they're causing toxicity, but none of those chemicals belong there. So where do they all come from?
Okay, this is just an example to show as you're reading it, because you've read about endocrine disruptors from Theo Colburn, because you've read about epigenetics, because you've looked at what Charles Sherrington has done, you've got lots of information from what you've studied to now apply to the extra credit video. Make sure you bold your thesis statement as the criteria tells you to, okay? It says it right here, boldface your thesis statement, and you submit it, and there's your extra points, okay? It must show a correlation, okay? Now, this is what we get from the syllabus. It must show a correlation, the extra credit assignments, which are not required, but they give you extra points each week as you learn to earn. And that's the name of that pedagogy. You must show a correlation of at least one of the brain mechanisms. So what brain mechanism would correspond to endocrine disruptors? Okay, so then you go and you do a quick search. Move this guy out the way for a second. And you are looking at endocrine disruptors. Okay, so let's look at, and just Google it if you don't know it from the notes or the textbook, because it's there as well. What brain mechanism is impacted by endocrine disruptors? Okay, go to images, and it will show you the parts of the brain that are impacted by endocrine disruptors. Okay, once you have the understanding of those parts, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, this is a good one. Okay, this one basically shows you, excuse me for squinting, I have to look through bifocals. They show you the thyroid, the pancreas, the ovaries. They show you all of the different endocrine system glands that are impacted deleteriously by these endocrine disruptors. Okay, this one even gives you an explanation. Now, are any of these brain mechanisms? No. So you have to look and find the brain mechanism. And here's one that gives you the brain mechanism. I think by clicking on that picture, I'm not going to get the actual picture. So let me go back and let me enlarge the image. Okay, because that will help me more. Okay, so here we are. This is the part of the brain that is impacted by endocrine disruptors. This is actually the pituitary, and this is the posterior, and this is the anterior. Now, this doesn't really, these are the different names of the endocrine disruptors: phthalates, dioxins, PCBs, like when you spray stuff, BPAs, bisphenol A, BI, and then the PH for phenol A is BPA, which is on every single receipt that we have. Like the slippery receipts, a lot of you are not old enough to know there was a time where the paper was more coarse, and I'm reaching for a receipt right now so that I can demonstrate to you what I'm talking about. Some of the receipts, or most of the receipts, that we now use at the grocery market or whatever, those receipts have like this silky kind of, here's a Target receipt. It's kind of silky smooth. Well, all of the printing, all of the lettering is made with bisphenol A. So we're going to have to outlaw that too. And you might say, well, what's the big deal? It's an endocrine disruptor. Okay. It shows you right here that it impacts the thyroid. Okay. It shows you right here that it impacts the adrenal gland. The phthalates impact the cortex of the brain. This is what we're studying. Okay. So this is just one part of where the synapse is, that space where that information crosses from one neuron to the next. And that's what you'll have to read and study. And then if you chose to zero in on this, this would be what you would write about in your portfolio. So I have discussed in writing your portfolio the criteria, how it's supposed to be set up in a previous video and this one. I've also talked about how you can look at the videos and the modules, how you can look at it in your textbook. I didn't pull up a textbook because actually I don't think I have purchased it for this semester, but let me see. I think I did because I think they took money out of my account. Okay, so let me go ahead and sign in. And here we go. So we can go ahead and we can read the textbook. And it will give us the same information pretty much that we're getting through the videos. So it depends on your learning style. If your learning style is more visual, and look at the textbook or look at the videos, either one. If you're more audible, then you might like looking at the videos better. This is an example of, we're going to go to the chapter I was just talking about, synapse. So you can look at this chapter if you choose, or you can look at the videos that I have in there for you. Okay, it's entirely up to you. This cost me $14.99 a semester to make sure that you can look at this online. Okay. But this gives you the information you need so that you will have the foundation before you try to do the X assignments, which are extra credit, not required, just learn to earn, or when you go to write the essay for your portfolio submission. But a lot of people don't want to do the reading or look at the videos and just jump right into the portfolio. It doesn't work very well. I'll put it to you that way. Okay, so I think this is a thorough explanation of, I'm looking crazy after my workout, a thorough explanation. If you still need to meet with me, that's fine. Just go to your syllabus. And here it tells you how you can set up a private Zoom with me. And it says with a 24-hour window to receive the Zoom link. In other words, if you want to, if it's right now, it's 2:30 on the 26th of February. If you want to meet with me, you're going to have to give me at least 24 hours to make sure that I see it and can give you a Zoom link. So don't set the meeting prior to 2:30 on the 27th. Okay. Alrighty. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I'm sorry that I did not do a video to kind of surmise the chapters, but I spent so much time having meetings with people and doing that kind of stuff that it made it a little tough. So this is the end of this, and the next thing that I will focus on is correlation. As soon as I get the opportunity, I'll make a video on correlation, positive, negative, and so that you'll have maybe a little more in-depth understanding of how to correlate brain mechanism to human behavior. Stay safe.